The Battlefield 2042 beta is over, and it's a tough one to summarize, because as much fun as I had, as much as I enjoyed certain parts of it, everything was just kind of spoilt by something that needed more development time. It was always positive point and counterpoint the entire way through. The delay was definitely needed, there's no question of that. At this point, it's just a question of will that be enough for them to sort all these problems out at launch. But despite the problems, despite the issues, once I got past the initial shock of getting used to it, what I was left was a great game. It was a Battlefield 4 improvement. If you like Battlefield 4, you'll probably have a lot of fun in this. And despite the issues, despite any problems that I ran into, it didn't get in the way of fun. It didn't get in the way of moments like this. Battlefield 2042 seems to be a game of contradictions. The maps look awesome, the graphics are great, all the vehicles flying around, the infantry, just as an image itself, is beautiful. Of course, the maps have huge problems. There's just big, massive open spaces with no cover. You spend all your time in one area of the map because the rest just doesn't flow that well. Certain parts of the map are awesome. The fights over the towers are incredible. And then the next thing, you're just running over an open hill with no cover, just waiting to die. The movement system itself is really fluid. You've got infinite tack sprint to move around incredibly. All the zip lines and everything else, they don't slow you down. You're not vulnerable on them like Warzone. You get off and off them almost immediately and you can fire all the time. This is how Warzone should have made them work. It's how I thought they would work in Warzone. Well, Battlefield has solved that problem. But then at the same time, despite the gunplay feeling incredible and allowing you to go on something really good, satisfying tears, the guns themselves often have no recoil, which isn't something that's normal for Battlefields. This could be the norm in Warzone, which is probably why they've done it. But it's a change of pace for Battlefield, and it makes the guns not feel as satisfying to use, even though you're getting a lot of kills. A lot of people just stayed with the original gun, just because it was the lowest recoil gun, and it was the easiest to use at basically all ranges. There was no reason to switch over to the higher recoil AK. Even though it was more powerful, you'd just miss more shots, and so the time to kill was worse. This is the never-ending contradiction when you start having low recoil guns. It makes every other gun redundant. The specialist system is something that I really adore. I always had a problem in the other games that if I was an engineer, it meant I couldn't do anything else. And if you didn't get teamwork, you were kind of screwed. Whereas in this, you can actually build your specialist to be a bit of a jack of all trades. And being a jack of all trades really works when there's no way to tell who specialist has got what. When everyone can have an ammo box, you don't know who's got an ammo box. And it's not like previous games where you could just take ammo from them, which would probably be the preferred system. The issue is when there's something like no medic class and everyone can be a medic, it means no one's going to be a medic. Getting revived in this is nigh on impossible. No one does it. And that might be because it just takes too long to do, but at the same time, everyone just assumes someone else will get them. Even the ones that want the job don't really take the job because they can choose from anything else. And at the end of the day, when you're not getting revived yourself, I can understand people not wanting to do it. Specialist system also has an effect on the fact that it's so hard to tell enemies and allies because everyone looks the same. Yeah, there are only 4 specialists, but the specialists look the same on both teams. There is a little blue circle among your own team, but you can't see that all the time. A lot of the time, it's not even there, and at a glance, if someone's running around a corner, you just end up spraying or half your clip into them and wondering why they haven't died. I did it myself all of the time, and well, in other games, if a teammate would start randomly shooting me, I'd get annoyed. In this, it's just like, yeah, it's tough out here, isn't it, mate? It's a hard go. Overall, the game seems to be struggling between identities. You've got really fast-paced, smooth movement with infinite tactical speed to get around all the time and fluid ziplines to everything tries to not break it up. But then you'll spend 4 seconds on a res or throwing a grenade just seems slow and clunky. Battlefield has always been a bit of a slower paced game, but when you try and speed it up and also have these old hangabouts, it feels awkward to use. You make bigger maps to fit more people in, but then you don't put anything in the middle, so everyone clusters around the same areas. And in fact, I've probably seen less of the map this time than I would on anything else, just because I don't want to spend 5 minutes running to a point just to be bored. The specialist system itself is a great idea. The grappling hook is incredible. It feels amazing to use. I want one in every game. That's how well designed it is. And choosing the grappling hook has a real-world effect. It means you can't take something like the medic to self-heal, and no one else is going to heal you. And yes, you could take the med box instead, but now you don't have anything for tanks or vehicles, and you actually don't have anything against AA, and you don't have an ammo box. You have to make serious decisions which have drawbacks. And while some people were saying that the meta was a medic because they could self-heal with armor plates, if that gave up the grapple, which allowed you to get such greater positional advantage, and that can overcome things like being able to self-heal all your armor, because it allows you to get the drop on people. These decisions do enable a more tactical game, even if it's so fast-paced. But at the same time, all of this has a rather flat audio, and while setting it to night mode improves it a lot, the audio itself just feels like it needs rounding out in some way. Like, maybe it's as simple as remixing it, or maybe it just needs more audio added to it. Because a lot of the time, even though you're supposed to be in a battlefield, it just doesn't feel that way. There's not enough noise. There's not enough going on to make you immersed in the action. And the issue I keep going back to is that the problems of the game were obvious. Despite how fun it is, despite how good some of the features are, just playing the game, even for a few hours, you saw these problems. They were obvious. They were open to everybody, and most people were giving the same feedback. So if the players can see that, why can't the developers? Why weren't these things fixed before the beta? Now, they have said that the beta is a couple of months old, and this is an old build, and a lot of what we have a problem with have already been fixed. But if that was the case, you should give us the new build. I think giving an old build is a problem. It's a mistake, because everyone knows that betas aren't betas. They are demos. No one really cares if you intend it to be any other way, because that's the way it is, that's the way it's taken, and that's the way that you should treat them. And because these problems are so obvious, I actually can't believe that the developers didn't see them. I can't believe that they didn't know these were issues. I can only think that they didn't have enough time to fix them. And so we come back full circle. This game has had a month's delay, and it definitely needed it. The question is that long enough to fix the problems? Unfortunately, that's not something we can comment on. It's something that only the developers will know. And while this game was very stable, it didn't crash once, it didn't have any significant issues. In fact, most of the issues and bugs I had were minor problems. They were things like a parachute not cutting from the person, so it just hovered above their head, or a gun not saving the loadout. The instant modification selection, by the way, the T system, is awesome. I actually thought that was going to be horrible, taking away all the positives and negatives, the trade-offs when you balance a gun. But with a map like this, as big as this is, with its varied environments, it's almost a requirement to do. So overall, I had a lot of fun after the first couple of hours. The first couple of hours were horrendous. It was me fighting with the settings page, trying to get things how I liked it. Dialing in things like your sensitivity was very difficult to do, and really needs to be smoothed out, and the navigation of the menu system improved for launch. The UI is a weakness. All of the UI elements have this weird glow about them, which just shouldn't exist, in my opinion. But despite that, if you can get past that initial couple of hours learning curve of the game, then what you're left with is an incredibly fun Battlefield experience. And the issues that I do have can probably be solved by the portal system. If all of the maps are too open, then I can just go and play Bad Company 2 maps. If I have a problem with the guns and their recoil, then I can go and use guns from the previous games. The portal system is what can fix a lot of the issues, even if at launch the developers haven't fixed them. But honestly, the developers need to fix them. I think the mixed response to this was largely justified, with some people going over the top with experiences that I just didn't have. I do wonder if a lot of the problems are limited to console, because on PC I just can't say I had a lot of the same optimization or performance issues that other people have talked about. But even with those issues, I had a great time. This is still Battlefield. This is Battlefield 4 2. So I'm hoping that developers have enough time to look at the feedback and implement it, because if they do, then this could be a really incredible game, and one that I could see myself playing for a long time. Because these issues were fine for a beta. I can look past them in a beta. But if they're still there at launch, then I'm going to be there complaining right alongside everybody else. But for now, that's it from me. If you liked the video, press like and subscribe for more videos in the future. And let me know what you thought of Battlefield 2042 and the beta down below. But for now, that's it from me. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.